Welcome back, our Trekkie friends, to this special edition of the Hailing Frequencies podcast. It's only the second episode, but it's a special one because it's unscheduled. I am one of your hosts, Stu.
And I'm your other host, Alastair. Stu, it feels so good to be special just on our second episodes.
I know, right?
But we are talking about the new Lower Decks trailer today and some of the spoiled episode names. So that's a good cause for a special episode if ever there was one.
It absolutely is. And that's why we're doing this. We would have done it sooner, but basically I've been away working. So, that's that. But we are bringing it in now with so 8 out of the 10 episode titles have dropped. We have 2 synopses. Obviously, this is Lower Decks season 4, and of course, we have the second trailer that's dropped as well, with some interesting moments in. I think, first of all, though, we need to go to Red Alert because this episode will contain spoilers for season 4 of Lower Decks. So if you want to avoid those spoilers, stop now, go and watch Lower Decks season 4, which starts fairly soon, and then come back and watch this afterwards because we need the views. No, hopefully it should be entertaining, quite entertaining, where we might get it wrong. What do you think, Alastair?
Who knows? I mean, it's hard with any show to tell what you're really seeing in the trailer, whether you're seeing something that's a whole episode or just a little flash of something that occupies no more than a few seconds, and then the episode moves on to something completely different. And I feel like Lower Decks is particularly difficult to guess whether you're watching something that takes up a whole episode or you're just watching a zany moment that gets whizzed past quite quickly. So we will do our best to make some educated guesses on what is what and try and bring some interesting insights into what we get to see in the trailer, because there's no shortage of stuff to talk about. It's pretty action-packed.
There's a lot in it. I mean, you mentioned, you get a few seconds of something. You literally get a split second of some things as well. Really, really is. But shall we start?
I wasn't the only one freeze framing Stu on specific scenes, trying to hit that pause button at the right time to get an image of something.
I've literally just an hour ago been going through literally frame by frame by frame because I didn't want to miss anything at all. But I'm thinking, would it be a good idea for us to talk about the episode titles that we know first of all, because then that might put some of the trailer in context. What do you think?
It sounds good to me. Let's start there and do episode titles first. So we have 8 of these episode titles so far, Stu, right? So there's 2 unaccounted for at the moment. We don't know episodes 9 or 10.
I'm going to suspect that that's because they're going to build up to a big cliffhanger and they don't want to spoil that for us.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, I think that's a very good guess as to why we don't have those 2 yet. But what do we think of the ones that we do know? Shall we start at the beginning with episode 1?
Start at the very beginning. A very good place to start, as the song says. So what's episode 1?
Episode 1 is called Tuvix, Twovix, for the audience at home. What do you reckon to that, Stu?
Well, this we know from. We've got a very, very brief synopsis of this and the second episode, and we know that Boimler and Mariner visit the USS Voyager Museum. Now, we had the Deep Space Nine episode in the last season. Was it last season or season 2?
It was the last season, right? I think season 3
was the last season. Sure. Yeah. So it's not surprising. Yeah, it's not surprising that they're going with a Voyager-focused episode in season 4, and that'll be a lot of fan service in that. Tuvix. Now, I've got to say, I stand on the fence of justice for Tuvix. What side of this fence do you sit on, Alastair?
I think I'm on the I'm a little tired of the Tuvix the Tuvix discussion in general, Stu. I'm going to be honest. When I saw this as an episode name, I really hope it's just a little in joke and that there's not actual callbacks to the episode that it's a namesake of. I think it's an interesting discussion, but the ethics of Tuvix has just been done so much on internet forums in the last few years that I feel like we could probably let it go at this point, and a lot's been said.
Everything has been said already many
Yeah.
times. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you that I think it's just a kind of an in joke. I'm wondering if we are going to see, though, in this episode, William Boimler, Brad's transporter clone.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, it would be a good moment for it, right? And I mean, it seems like the episode as a whole is a throwback to, or not a throwback, I suppose, a continuation possibly of Macrocosm, the third season Voyager episode, where it looks like we're dealing with the same virus, and we even see Mariner in the kind of Janeway-esque costume from that episode. So I feel like one of the safest bets seems to be that it will pick up from that at this point.
That's fair to say. That's fair to say. Yeah, William, but I want to follow the story of William. I mean, as we know, I'm a Section 31 nut. And of course, the last we saw of William Boimler, he was pronounced dead and then was beamed onto a Section 31 Defiant class ship. Where does that sound familiar to us?
I know. It's almost like it's something that we do every fortnight, Stu.
It is. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that first episode though, and seeing where it goes. Voyager wasn't one of my favorites, but it's still, it's up there. Like I say, a lot of fan service, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's Voyager's an excellent series when it comes to fan service. There's a lot of it's like Tom Paris's cameo in the earlier season of Lower Decks, right?
Yes.
It seems to translate very the Voyager vibes translate very well into Lower Decks and a bit of nostalgia for an earlier iteration of Star Trek. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. But I'm very excited about the name for our second episode here. Can you guess why, Stu?
Well, I'm thinking, well, when I first saw this, I was wondering if it was a reference to the original series, and in particular, a certain Doctor from the original series.
Now, explain your thinking here, because I also have an original series connection in my excitement, but I don't think it's the same one. So I'll let you take it away first, Stu. What did you see relating to Doctors from the original series in this?
Okay. Well, the episode title is I Have No Bones, Yet I Must Flee. Well, Bones, of course, was the nickname of the Doctor.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense to me. I can see that. I got excited because I think that this is a play on one of my favorite short stories in general by Harlan Ellison, the classic sci-fi author who wrote City on the Edge of Forever from the original series. He has a short story called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, which takes place in a cave with the remnants of humanity fighting a tyrannical AI that is basically psychologically torturing them. So I'm hoping that there's a deliberate homage to that short story in there, and I would certainly love to see the Lower Decks crew in the kind of scenario from that story.
I mean, that interestingly, that can describe half the TOS episode, really, can't it? Homicidal AI.
You're
And of
not wrong. And
course,
they've got no shortage of homicidal AIs from lower decks to choose from to pit them against. So
um, yeah, that's really interesting. And of course, Mike McMahon won't be shy of doing an anti-AI episode, especially in light of the whole SAG-AFTRA thing and what's going on with that, and the problems with AI taking over the jobs of writers, basically, in the industry. And it's all very, yeah. But the synopsis we've got for it, I've got to say, it doesn't seem to connect with, at least it doesn't in my head straight away. So Ensign Mariner and Commander Ransom visit an alien zoo is what we've got so far for
so yeah,
that.
that does not obviously check out as being sort of much of a direct parallel to the Allison short story, but perhaps there's some. I just feel like I almost feel like the name has to be a little nod to that, but maybe in terms of plot elements, there's not much. There's not much carried over from the name they're referencing in the title. Maybe it's just sort of an affectionate nod back to one of the writers from classic Trek and their larger contributions to the sci-fi genre. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and wasn't City on the Edge of Forever originally a short story that had nothing to do with Star Trek?
I believe so. Yeah, there's an interesting Harlan Ellison's contributions to Star Trek and attempted contributions. I believe he submitted the script for Next Generation, which wasn't developed, but similarly started off as something that had nothing to do with Star Trek. And I believe, if I recall, possibly it actually been developed for a different TV show or something. Similar
Right.
story again anyway, Stu, that it was something he had in his pocket and put forward for that. But very exciting for me to catch a little nod to that short story in the episode title.
Excellent. Well, hopefully there'll be plenty of references in the episode as well. Next episode, episode 3. So we don't have any more synopsises from here on. It is pure speculation all the way. Episode 3, In the Cradle of Vexilon. Any thoughts on that?
Um, there's so much in the trailer, and it's very hard because we're almost playing a game of kind of the word puzzles you get where you're sort of drawing a line to connect. You've got a list
Yeah.
on one side and a list on the other, and you're trying to draw a line. The meaning of to connect the two meanings or something, and it's almost like playing a game of that, isn't it? With these names and what we see in the trailer. I mean, Cradle of Vexilon sounds like a very sort of TOS sounding name. Looking at what else we've got in the coming up in the episode names, it might be a good fit for some mirror universe shenanigans. We certainly see what looks to be mirror universe uniforms at one or two points in the trailer, I think. So it's a guess, but that's my best effort. Stu, what do you reckon?
Um, I can see where you're coming from with the mirror universe, but the mirror universe scene we saw was when the crew were all put through simulations in might have been season 2. Remember, I Excretus was the episode title. Because Boimler kept going through the Borg simulation.
Yes. Yeah.
And Mariners was the mirror universe one.
Oh, and so the footage in the new trailer is a lift from that season 2 episode, Stu?
There's a lot that's lifted from previous seasons, yeah.
Oh, I had not cottoned on to that. So in that case, I feel like I have even less of a good guess to give as to what this one's about. So do you have any thoughts?
I'm really struggling with this one. There's the one scene in the trailer that I think it might connect with. You see at one point Samanthan and what's his name? The chief engineer Billups, Chief Engineer Billups, lounging with what looks like people from the Edo race.
Yes, I
From
noticed this
the
as well. Yeah.
TNG episode. Rubicon 3 was a planet. So I'm wondering if maybe that's where the connection is. Maybe it's a shore leave episode, something of
Yep.
that nature. Really hard to gauge.
It is. It's a tough one. Some of these other ones coming up are a bit easier. So, shall we move on
Yes.
to the fourth one here? So we've got something borrowed, something green,
Mm-hmm.
as episode 4 is titled. What do we reckon for this, Stu?
I think we're going to see an Orion wedding. And I don't think it's going to be Tendi who's getting married, but I think she's going to be like guest of honor, and it's going to be really irritating. Like, oh, Orion's being pirates. Like, God, this is terrible. We do see some shots of Tendi and Mariner and T'Lyn, the new Vulcan lower decker, at I don't know if it's an Orion nightclub. It's certainly a nightclub. The whole thing is lit green, so you can't tell if the people are green or not. Uh, but they're and you can like T'Lyn's just like neutral. Tendi is looking fed up, and Beckett's like really excited. And then later you see the same three, Tendi, T'Lyn, and Beckett, outside the shuttle, and they're being attacked by swashbuckling Orions.
I would say this seems like a pretty good guess, Stu. I think you will wind up being very close, if not spot on, with that assessment. So, nice work there. I don't think I have anything that I could add that would bring more to that one. So moving on to episode 5, we've got
Yes.
Anthological Fallacies. What a name! Thoughts on this one, Stu?
One race springs to mind. I'm going to see if I can communicate it to you.
I'm getting something. Could it be Betazoids?
It is. Well done. You're clearly
Surprised.
empathic.
Yeah. It's no fallacy. Yes. Any speculations as to what might be going on with Betazoids in this episode, Stu?
I'm not sure. I think if I had to take wild stab in the dark, it would be that there's something about Betazoids that we think we understand, but it's going to be turned on its head in some way. That or fallacies is basically a mucky play on words of phalluses. I would not put that past Lower Decks.
Absolutely, yeah. One thing that would be really nice. I mean, I think it's a bit of a dream, but it would be lovely to see a Marina Sirtis cameo, wouldn't it? I think
Yes.
exploring. We got to see some more of Troy in season 3 of Picard, but very sadly, as I understand it, that was quite reduced due to COVID restrictions at the time. There would have been the wish to do more if it had been easier I believe Marina was living in the UK at the time, and so getting her to the States to film for that during COVID was very hard. And it would be lovely to get some more time for her in Lower Decks as a result.
Yes.
And I think as well, really interesting to explore as that character gets older, how much the saying of everyone becomes more like their parents as they grow up, kind of thing. It would be really interesting to see if that character winds up any more like her mother as she gets older or not in the show. There could be some fun to be had there, I think.
I like that thinking. I like that approach. I've got to say, so rather than the listeners sort of shouting at us, of course, Marina has cameoed in Lower Decks already. I think she
Sorry,
had like
yes,
two
yeah.
lines.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I am aware of that, but I was just meaning it would be nice to get more of her rather than sort of her insinuating that it would be her first appearance on that show. So,
definitely.
yeah,
Definitely. Yeah, I really like that idea. Yeah, let's see a more Roxana-esque um Troy.
I think
Yeah.
there's some great, some nice develop potentially some nice development for the character. A bit of humor to be had in that maybe she doesn't realize that she's unaware of the similarities that are there, and the crew are getting wound up in a similar way, and we have the kind of the end of the episode being her realizing that she's become her mother, and or this kind of twist to it. So it could be fun. I think it's a dream for this episode, sadly, but I'd love to see it if they were able to bring her back and give her some, because Marina's an excellent comic actress as well. So I think a
Oh,
funny Lower Decks episode for her could be excellent.
definitely, definitely. It'd be an interesting one timeline-wise because, of course, this episode of Lower Decks would be, I think, about 16, 17 years before Picard.
Right. Yes. Good point. So we would be seeing we would not be seeing a continuation of her character, older than she is in that show. So good point. There's still possibilities there, but
Oh,
it's not going to be
definitely.
not going to be the sort of it would have to be in that intervening time, wouldn't it? So that sort of limits things a bit more probably for what could happen with the character.
Well, people's personal character development arcs in real life kind of a very fluctuating up and down. There are times in my life when I've started becoming an arsehole and my partners have kind of stopped that, and I thank them for it. So yeah, I can see it. I can see it happening. Maybe Will steps in and saves the day.
Yeah, I would love to see it. I would love to see it, but I think we probably, you're quite right in terms of the Betazoid connection for empathological fallacies. I think that I am, dreaming with a Marina Sirtis cameo, but wouldn't it be great if it happened? So moving
Love
on
to
to
see it.
episode 6, we've got Parth Ferengi's Heart Place.
Oh, I squealed when I read that, and I'm expect. I don't think many of our many of Star Trek's audience will get the reference at all. I mean, we've never discussed this what it's referencing, Alastair. Do you know what it's referencing even?
This is lost on me, Stu. So take it away. I am definitely one of the Trek fans who doesn't immediately get this.
Okay, there was it was about 10, 15 years ago, I think, in the UK, there was a TV series um, called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Oh, how could I not have noticed that? I love Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. Okay.
Well, it's very cult and very obscure and very British.
Yeah. It is, yeah, yeah. Oh wow, no, okay. So I love Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. I did not put the name, possibly because actually that was the first time that I had said it out loud just to you there, and it's probably more noticeable actually when you say it than when you read it. But oh, that's a wonderful connection to have. Do you want to? So I mean, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place was um, a, a a very cleverly formatted parody show in the UK in the early 2000s, right, Stu? I think I've got my timing
Oh,
right there.
was it as long ago as that 20 years ago? I can't remember how long ago it was, and like the last 20 years seem to have gone by in the last two, so it's a bit
Yeah.
hard for me to gauge. But yeah, it was reference, so it was a fictional show looking back at a fictional show from the early 80s. What was it? Something Hospital. But it was like it was the whole sort of Stephen King-esque. It was about a writer called Garth Marenghi, played by his name's escaped me.
Oh,
Anyway,
yes, I should know this too.
but yeah,
Notably, Richard Ayoade, who is much
yeah.
more well known for other things now. This was one of his early roles. So, and he's excellent. He's very funny.
It was his one of his breakout roles, and also the breakout role for Matt Berry as well, who is now like he's in everything. Matt Berry,
Yeah,
absolutely everything,
yeah.
even Star Wars.
Which Star Wars was he in, Stu?
He
Do you
was
remember?
in it wasn't Mandalorian, it was who's the Book of Boba.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Played
I
a
need to
droid.
catch up with that one. So yeah. I can
Right.
imagine being very good at that. So, but yeah, how exciting to have that reference in the name. And as you said, very unexpected. Although the world's an ever smaller place with various streaming services bringing these things, obscure Channel 4 hits from the early 2000s to various corners of the world. So nice to see that someone obviously has enjoyed it on the Lower Decks team.
Yeah.
And it certainly makes for uh, interesting speculation as to what could be going on in this episode.
Well, looking at the scenes from the trailer, I don't think there's an association any further than simply the title. We see Samantha and Tandy going to looks like a Ferengi-run hotel. I've been trying to get the name of it. It's something lodge, and it looks like the Lobes Lodge, but you only see sort of the bottom half of the word Lobes, if that's what it is.
That checks out to
Yeah,
me.
Ferengi Run.
I did freeze frame that one just as like I got very excited for a split second. I thought it might be Quark's Bar the first time that we glimpse it, but because it
Yeah.
flies by, it is literally a frame or two in the trailer. So I went back and freeze framed, and right enough, I think you've got it with Loeb's Bar. I was also struggling to make out what or Loeb's Lodge. Sorry, I was also struggling to make it out, but no, I think you're totally spot on there, Stu.
These seem to be very, very like you see Ferengi bellhops and clearly a Ferengi running it. They seem to be very friendly, and I'm wondering if we're seeing kind of the first time in canon the new Ferengi Republic. Is it under Rom?
I was going to say Rom's Ferengi Republic. Yeah,
Mm,
it would be nice to see, wouldn't it, Stu? It's one of those things that it feels overdue for a full canon appearance. So fingers
yes,
crossed. And I wouldn't be sad if they work in some sort of dark place, supernatural or
be good.
shenanigans somewhere around the sides. So good
That would
catch
be
on the
good.
name. Yeah.
Speaking of names, the next one I think is going to be much easier for us to work out what's going on. Give us the name of the seventh one.
So we have a few badges more. Badgie being the terrifying holodeck program that has terrorized the crew in the past. So I think safe to say, Badgie's back. We definitely see Badgie in the trailer doing some more terrorizing. But what exactly do you think is going to be going on with Badgie in this one, Stu? Do you have any ideas?
I hate to say this, but I've examined the Badger footage, and it's all from previous seasons.
Is it all from previous
None of
seasons?
it is new Badger footage.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, a few badges more suggests that we're maybe going to get Badgie in a Wild West situation, which I would be very excited for.
Definitely, it to me, it's absolutely clear we're going to get. It's going to be a Badgie sequel to A Fistful of Datas.
That would just be amazing. I think that's a very fair guess, and I'm totally there for that episode. I love Fistful of Datas as an episode, and I think doing that with Badgie will be so much fun. I really look forward to seeing Mariner in that setting in particular. I think that will be a blast seeing her play a sheriff or deputy or something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because of course, Mariner and Brad haven't encountered Badgie yet.
Right. Yeah, this is a good point. So yeah, I mean, do you think this will be the last we see of Badgie, Stu? I was about to say that I suppose there'll be Badgie recurrences where we'll see him confronting different characters over the seasons. But how long do you think Badgie runs for as an antagonist in Lower Decks?
I'm hoping I'm not going to get any hate mail for this, but I kind of hope it is the last appearance.
Yeah, and I mean, I really enjoyed Badgie's first appearance, and I'm quite happy
Yeah.
to see Badgie coming back again. But it does feel like something that probably has a bit of a shelf life to it, regardless of how much we love the idea. I don't know.
It's a bit of a like
Uh,
one note joke.
yeah. So I think maybe this being the second, and then it makes a lot of sense that, as you say, you've only had some of the characters, our main cast, confront Badgie in the past, and you can get some extra humor out of having characters that haven't interacted with Badgie before show up for this one, and that kind of opens up the possibilities. But then, yeah, Badgie coming back again. I mean, I can definitely see it happening because of how popular Badgie is in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be intrigued if they go for a third Badgie episode as to how well the joke of Badgie runs into a third episode.
So Badger has kind of already had two anyway. There
Oh
was
yeah,
the focused Badger, and then when he appears again at the end of season two, no, it might have been season one with virus. No, it was end of season one, wasn't it?
you're quite right, Stu. Yeah, no. So yeah, so already Badgie's actually a bit more stretched than I was initially remembering. And actually, maybe that's a good point. If Badgie came back more sparingly and didn't have full episodes concentrated around it, maybe that would be a way to kind of extend the life of that character. But we'll see.
Maybe, or if a few badges more is just a Badgie centric episode that kind of wraps up Badgie once and for all. I'll be happy with that.
And I'll agree. I would also be happy with that. And I think for fans of Badgie dismayed at the fact that we're saying that would be okay. I think it's in both our cases. It's not because we dislike Badgie. It's just that we don't want to see Badgie go on too long and stop being the beloved comical antagonist that it's been for his first few seasons in the show.
Yes, and on that note, before we go on to episode eight's title, question for yourself. We've had no mention of this character in the trailer or in any of the episode titles. Do you want to see more of Peanut Hamper?
I really want to see more of Peanut Hamper. I love the cliffhanger with Peanut Hamper being in the Institute beside what's the evil computer called again that Peanut Hamper is put in beside from another episode. Anyway,
yes, that one.
yeah, that computer. The idea. I really love the idea that there's potential for an AI baddie arc for the two of them, and in some ways I feel it's a shame. Almost like Badgie could have fit sort of would have fit in nicely as like a third party to kind of an AI villains trio with the two of them. So and before we got the trailer and the episode names, I actually thought that was maybe where they were going, that they were going to package together the kind of computer-based antagonists of the seasons that we've seen so far, and doing an episode with all three of them. It doesn't look like they're going that way, but yeah, I would love to see more Peanut Hamper. And if it doesn't happen this season, I very strongly suspect that we will get more before the show wraps.
Interesting. Peanut Hamper is one of the most hated characters on Lower Decks.
Yeah, and I mean, so yeah, I guess there's a difference between like disliking Peanut Hamper's actions and personality on the show, and enjoying seeing the Peanut Hamper episode as as a fun bit of storytelling. Yeah, no, I think Peanut Hamper makes a good, memorable antagonist for the show. I think they're setting it up with the cliffhanger that it gets left on. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be best friends with Peanut Hamper in real life, but I quite enjoy seeing Peanut Hamper returning to wreak havoc in the Lower Decks world. Where do you sit on Peanut Hamper? Would you be best friends with Peanut Hamper, Stu?
Peanut Hamper can jump in a volcano.
But do you find Peanut Hamper entertaining to watch? I guess is what we're talking here.
I thought Peanut Hamper made a good antagonist in her second episode. What was that? A mathematically perfect redemption. But no, that was it for me. That was, I suppose, it's kind of what I'm hoping for a few badges more. Is it was great to have that Peanut Hamper centric episode that wrapped up her story.
And actually, that I think, yeah, you're bringing me back to my thought as to why I thought they might do an episode with multiple AI baddies causing trouble at once, because it almost feels like. I guess actually, as we were saying with Badgie as well, the spreading the weight of those characters that maybe we don't want to see full episodes of as much going forward, sort of spreading the load between a few of them in kind of an AI mashup monster episode. It could have been quite fun, but it looks like we're going to get Badgie on Badgie Zone, and probably Peanut Hamper on Peanut Hamper Zone at some point in the future. So
at some point, so it's funny we're talking about AI gone wrong, given the mug I'm drinking out of.
How appropriate! We didn't plan it, viewers. It's totally spontaneous.
It was not planned at all. Right. So episodes 9 and 10, we don't know the titles of, so we can't speculate at all. I mean, we can speculate, but it would be wild speculation. But episode 8, what do you make of this one?
Is called Caves. Caves is obviously a long-running joke in Star Trek of setting episodes in caves pretty frequently. And props to the Lower Decks. I like the idea that I presume there's going to be a bit of a parody episode of all the cave episodes past from Star Trek in this one. Now, Stu, you can keep me right here, because I've obviously missed some of the recycled footage that we see in the Lower Deck season 4 trailer. We do see our heroes in a cave at one point, but is that recycled footage or is it fresh footage? Did you notice?
I've made a note of all the new footage, or what I'm thinking is new footage, and I'm not seeing any cave. I can't remember a cave sequence. What are they doing in the cave?
If memory serves, it's very, very brief, and they're almost, you just sort of see them like walking through a cave for a moment or two at one point. But I will hold my hands up and say that I think my dissection of the trailer has not been as thorough as yours. So I've possibly mistaken a planet's surface somewhere or something for being an underground location. So, so I mean, in which case we maybe don't get any clues from the trailer as to what's going on in this episode. So What are we thinking? Like a beloved throwback to Enterprise's rock monsters from the caves episode there, or another episode, or something totally fresh? What version of Star Trek Caves do you think we'll see in Lower Decks too?
It'd be nice if they do bring back the Horta. Horta's been referenced like in the background so many times on Star Trek now as an Easter egg. I'd like to see a proper Horta episode. Like, let's expand on this strange silicon-based creature. Hmm.
Yeah, that would work for me as well. I it's it's so hard to guess with Lower Decks because I find myself going to say like, well, but I'm not sure, that they would be that specific as a throwback. And then I was like, no, wait, it's Lower Decks. They absolutely might choose to be
Yeah.
that specific in their throwback in their caves episodes. So, um, yeah, it could well be. Stu seems as good a guess as any to me. I'd love to see it if they do go that way.
I think as mysterious and briefer title is Caves. It could be the Caves of the Mind. It could be, I don't know. It could be a metaphor.
Yeah,
It could be a.
I mean, I would love to see, a lot of the cave episodes in Star Trek have been what we call bottle episodes, right? Where you take the characters and you cut them off from their usual surroundings and you kind of strand them. And oftentimes that leads to characters turning on each other or having suspicions of some sort. And we it's fun to do with the Lower Decks characters, right? They're such a great team that to see them doubt each other, or if they take the episode in that direction, I think it could be very funny and but possibly quite poignant, as Lower Decks often manages to really successfully mix up at the same time. So intrigued to see what Caves is. Love that there's a joke about the frequency at which caves appear in Star Trek's episode history. We'll have to see what the details are.
Well, it was cheap to do.
This is it. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, moving on then to the trailer itself. Let's rattle through the scenes as we see them then. It opens, of course, with a shot of the Cerritos looking all sovereign class, as Carol Freeman put it. And of course, that shot is from Crisis Point. A lot of people got very excited at the next shot when you see a sovereign class ship flying into view. Did you think it was the Enterprise, Alastair?
Maybe hoped.
I'm afraid for any viewers who were also hoping it's not. It's the USS Wayfarer, and that was also a recycled scene from Crisis Point 2 Paradoxus. Early on, when the Cerritos is being fired upon by the triplets running the Valdor class Romulan ship, and NCC 80035. I think they missed a trick there by not making it 80085, which would spell boobs.
Clearly, the writers for that did not spend time playing with their calculators at school.
Yeah. Then we get a shot of the bridge. Now, this is new footage. It looks like it's kind of in the same thing because it's in the middle of a battle and the ship's being sort of shaken about and everyone breathes a sigh of relief. There's a woman to the left of Carol Freeman, the captain, sat to her left, who is holding something. I'm wondering what it is. It flies out of her hand. I'm wondering, is it a camera? Like, is she press or something?
Good question. Remind me again, what is the outfit like for that character? Do we get any clues from, is there a uniform or?
She's not in uniform, certainly not in Starfleet uniform. She's wearing what looks like sort of formal business dress, like a business skirt and jacket. She's got some sort of emblem on her jacket, but it's not a Starfleet symbol or anything like that. So definitely got
So it's
civilian vibes.
so probably most frequently when we see people getting to be that close to the bridge crew and in that kind of civilian attire, we think scientist, right? In Star Trek, when someone makes it to the bridge. Um, so possibly, and I mean, particularly if the device is a bit hard to identify. Maybe there's a kind of inventor or scientific side to things.
That's a that's a good call. So yeah, she's holding this. It all looks almost like a white vase, and then just at the end of the shot, and I only picked this up literally by going through it, literally frame by frame. At the end of the shot, it flies up out of her hands towards the helm. It looks like it's got a lens on the end of it, and there's appears to be a red light at the front as well. That's why I'm thinking camera, I think.
And does it look more camera than AI, Stu? Is there a possibility for a robot?
Definitely a possibility for AI there. Definitely.
Okay.
It's really hard to tell.
It would be very fun to see press on the bridge. I feel like Star Federation press is not something that we've really seen much explored in Star Trek, and I think Lower Decks would be a very fun place to have press intrusion into a Starfleet vessel. So that sounds like a fun option. I wouldn't be surprised if it winds up having a scientific edge to it in some way. How intriguing, and great catch on the frame by frame to pick up that much about it.
It's I'll be intrigued to find out who she is, definitely.
Yeah.
Then we cut to a shot of Mariner, Tendi, and Rutherford, interestingly, in their crisis point uniforms, but you've got Carol Shax and Jack Ransom stood behind them in their normal uniforms. So I'm wondering if we're getting a third crisis point. That might be why we're not seeing the titles for episodes 9 and 10. One of those might be a crisis point.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really really good shout, Stu. I think you could be onto something there. And yeah, absolutely, it would explain the hidden episode names, because it's those episode names we're presuming with our speculation here are something that are immediately very spoilery of what is contained within them if they're being deliberately concealed. And what you're saying there would check out as you couldn't release those episode names without giving the game away immediately. So yeah, sounds right to me.
We see a shot of all four lower deckers enjoying margaritas. I don't know if that's recycled or not, but it doesn't really give much away, to be honest. They're just enjoying margaritas. We get a shot. I mean, yeah. So mentioning Peanut Hamper, we get a shot of the planet from above of Areolus, the planet of the owl people, as I think of them. And then it cuts. It's the way it's cut. It's supposed to look like the same planet, although when you dissect it, it's not. That's when you see Billups and Rutherford on this planet with what looks like the Edo to me. Certainly orange-skinned and scantily clad, in the same style of dress as they wear on Rubicon 3. That'd be interesting if they are. Go on.
Sorry, go ahead, Stu. Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking.
I was going to say, no, we're caught in a causal time loop, Stu. Go for it.
You go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I was just going to say, I noticed this scene kind of popped out to me as well from the trailer. Um, just just as a sort of a surprise more than anything else. I wasn't necessarily expecting that callback, but I think you're about to share a more enlightening bit of speculation about why this pops up. So I will throw it over to you.
Well, of course, the Edo god forbade the Federation from coming back to that system because, of course, they were planting colonists in an adjacent planet. And that was the agreement when they left. So I'm wondering if this is a holodeck we're seeing.
That would make sense. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It's a specific, quite a specific choice for a holodeck
Mm.
simulation. If it is intentional, though.
Well, I'm wondering if it gets referenced later on
Yeah.
in the trailer. We see something else to do with
Okay. Let's keep moving along. What have we got coming up next?
Straight after that, we get a shot of Ransom and Mariner arguing with each other, and it's they're clearly repairing something in the wall of one of the corridors. We see a shot then of Beckett and her mother. Beckett's wearing yellow, though.
Era appropriate yellow suit.
Yes, it's 2380's uniform. So suggests that Beckett's either been transferred to security or engineering. I mean, I'd put her in security, that's for sure.
It does seem a natural fit, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of the things that I'm really hoping for, sort of zooming out from the trailer for a moment, is to see some good character progression and movement like this. So I think it'd be great to see Beckett make a change like that and have that character. I think security makes the most sense by quite a long shot for a transfer. But yeah, fingers crossed. That'd be great to see.
Is Mariner the new baby bear?
Yeah.
After that, so I mean, there are now sort of interspersed throughout the whole thing. There are a lot of callback, and I've in my list of shots, I've sort of eliminated them from this. So I'm just talking about the stuff that's either new or it might be recycled, but I can't place it. But at this point, this is where we come on to the real fan service stuff when we get the shot of Voyager, and they've gone big with this, with the lights coming on, and yeah,
it does look very cool, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean the image of just seeing Voyager again immediately brings to mind a lot of potential for the Voyager episode. We were talking about cameos earlier. Do you think we can expect a Voyager related cameo in the Voyager episodes too?
I'd love to see the Doctor.
He seems like the obvious choice, doesn't he? Because even if the EMH that we know and love from Voyager is no longer aboard the ship, one would suspect that an EMH might be left operational on Voyager. So yeah, I can definitely see a Doctor of some description cameo for this one.
I think we can rule out Janeway because this is only a couple of years before Prodigy. Yeah. So that's kind of an aspect to it.
And sort of for boring technical reasons as well, we know that it seems like the showrunners had divided up some legacy characters between the franchises a bit. We know that that Janeway was sort of ruled out for Picard because of being involved in in Prodigy, and so presumably similarly for a Chakotay cameo, we probably wouldn't expect to see here.
Because of Beltran's recent behavior on Twitter, I'd be extraordinarily surprised if we see him on lower decks. Really, really surprised. Yeah, we're not going to see Seven for the kind of the same reasons. In Picard, we know she's gone off and become part of the Fenris Rangers because, yeah, all technical stuff. Harry Kim might be an interesting one. Of course, we've had Tom Paris, so yeah, Harry Kim might be a good one to reference. It'd be funny if it's still Lieutenant.
I mean, I
Sorry,
love
an
listening to
ensign.
don't put him too far above his station, Stu. I love listening to Garrett Wang and the Delta Flyers, and it'd be a real treat to see him back on some version of the show. I did wonder as well whether B'Elanna Torres, a Roxanne Dawson cameo, might be a possibility, because this, in terms of fitting into the larger events of the Star Trek universe, Voyager may already be in the ship museum that we see it in Picard, and so an engineer working on service for it or stationed. We encountered Geordi in Picard at the museum, so it seems like a natural place if you were going to have Torres get a cameo to maybe do that there. That was my other thought.
Yeah, I can see the logic. Although we know in the first episode, two Vics, Boimler and Mariner visit the Voyager Museum, so I don't think that it's gone to Starbase One as yet. I think that perhaps happens afterwards. Maybe it's a dedicated museum just for Voyager, or Voyager itself has become a museum.
So yeah, and in some ways, maybe actually that it would still call for maintenance, but you wouldn't have the problem of the fact that we know that Geordi's already at the ship museum, so perhaps it leaves a bit more wiggle room for having a Torres cameo at that point.
That's certainly a possibility. Moving on to the next scenes, we see Boimler cleaning out the holodeck biofilters. That's where I was going with the Edo thing.
And a quick crossover thought here: how great would it be to have a Chaotica crossover in the Voyager episode? I would love to see a Chaotica's robot versus Boimler fight. I think that would be an excellent moment.
Absolutely. So we see Boimler cleaning out the biofilters. Ransom offers him says, like, if nothing goes sideways, you get a promotion. Everything goes sideways, always. But then we see Boimler clearly things have gone sideways because he's running from a shuttle on a volcanic planet with those same What do you think is happening to these biofilters that they have to take them in a shuttle to a volcanic planet?
Yeah, I was really scratching my head over this as well, Stu, especially because that scene implies that there's maybe an instability or whether something's happening to the planet that causes the need. Because often when we see some things being moved in shuttles rather than transported, it is because there's some sort of geographical instability or whatever that's stopping the transporters from being an option. So yeah, I didn't sort of get too much further than that though. Do you have any guesses as to what's going on with that?
Well, I'm quite well known on this channel for my batshit crazy theories, and I'm going to come up with one right now. I think this is from A Few Badges More, and I think what's happening, Boimler is cleaning out the genetic material, shall we say, from the biofilters, Badgie turns up, wants to use that genetic material to make himself a real boy, and tries to get it. Boimler's trying to fend him off, but Badgie's controlling the environment in the holodeck, turns it into a volcanic planet. There's shuttles there for flavor, I suppose. And yeah, that's what I think's happening. Badgie's after the genetic material left behind in the holodeck biofilters.
I love the idea. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm gonna stick with that we're seeing real planet, but it would, it would be a great and nefarious plan on Badgie's part for trying to pull off that kind of stunt.
That's got to be the grossest batshit theory I've ever come up with.
Definitely not impossible for lower decks to do though. So yeah, all good. Yeah.
Oh dear me. From there it gets a little bit tamer as we see. As mentioned, I think it's from Something Borrowed, Something Green. We see Tendi, Tillin and Beckett in this nightclub, probably on Orion. Maybe. Who knows?
I think you could be right about the Orion connection for that part of the trailer.
Yeah. We see a white cat-like creature in a Jeffries tube who says, Mimsy! Any ideas about what Mimsy might be?
No, I wish I could say I did, Stuart. Have I missed something obvious here, or do you have a bit of what?
No, it's a genuine question. Not trying to trip you up or anything.
Okay, I was like, hold on, did we get a little hint of this somewhere earlier in the seasons? But no, yeah, it's an extremely, even by lower decks, surreal image in the trailer. It actually reminded me a little bit of Cowboy Bebop. Of something that you might find. I don't know if you ever watched that before, but the
I've
original
not watched it,
animated
but
version,
I've heard of it. Yeah,
yeah, it's the kind of imagery that you might have find in that, and it looks fun, but it's so out of nowhere that I just no idea. Do you have a theory to toss up here, Stu?
well, I think this is from when Mariner and Jack visits the alien zoo. I think this is a creature that has escaped and got on board. The name Mimsy, or the word Mimsy, there are only two references that I can think of. And because at first I'm thinking, that's really familiar. Where's it come from? And I'm thinking, I knew it wasn't Star Trek, but South Park has a character called Mimsy. And of course, the Jabberwocky is the second word in the Jabberwocky poem from Alice in Wonderland. All Mimsy were the Borogroves. So it's a nonsense word in of itself.
That seems likely as a reference to me. Yeah, the Jabberwocky catch is a good one there, Stu. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little homage there. And right enough, the Alien Zoo episode, if it's it's the perfect fit. Surely it must be from that episode. Yeah.
A nonsense name for a nonsense creature.
Yeah.
We do see some members of the crew. We see Jack and Mariner and someone else. And what I think is one of maybe the museum director or one of the staff members from the museum, looks like a plant person to me, running down the corridor of a ship. So I'm guessing running from Mimsy, who has done a galaxy quest and gone from cute to hideous and frightening. Then we see, now there was mention about if nothing goes sideways, this could lead to a promotion with Boimler. That was earlier on. We see Boimler with his possessions in a box. It's clearly moving somewhere, so I think he gets his promotion. It's a prediction
I
there.
hope he does. One thing that I increasingly feel as we get through the seasons of Lower Decks is that at the moment in Star Trek fandom, a lot of the chatter is, will Strange New Worlds get a spin-off at the end of it, or maybe even a continuation into original series with Kirk as the captain. But what I really want to see more than that is a live action Lower Decks spin-off following the end of the animated series. I absolutely think that the main cast following those old scientists could pull off, here's them as the bridge crew having been promoted up from the lower decks to a ship of their own. And I would love to see it as a season. I think it would be a great reward for the cast who have made Lower Decks something so special to give them a live action continuation.
Absolutely. And of course, if Star Trek Legacy comes about, that will be set about 20 years after Lower Decks, or maybe 15 years after Lower Decks. So you could see Captain Boimler.
Yeah.
Captain Boims.
I would love to see it. I think there's so much, like they've already proved that they can pull off that brand of comedy in real life with the Strange New Worlds crossover episode. So I'm all for promotions and departmental transfers that progress these characters up the chain of command, because ideally by the end of the show I would love to see them in a position to take on a ship of their own and set up that new show. But I am definitely living in dreamland with that speculation. It's just something that I would like to see.
Would you like to know what's in Boimler's box?
I would love to know what's in Boimler's box. What's in Boimler's box, Stu?
So there are a couple of items that I couldn't make out. However, we see Tom Paris's plate, and not Tom Paris, Boimler's plate of Tom Paris.
Yeah,
we see his Captain Freeman Day banner that he made. We see a dedication plaque. It looks like a ship dedication plaque, but it's got the word Boimler on it. And we see a model of the Stargazer.
Nice.
Very nice.
What a nice little box of fan service.
and so Boimler. All of that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The next new scene that I identified there was the swashbuckling Orions attacking Tendi, Tallinn, and Beckett as they seem to be going to the shuttle. So I'm guessing it's after they've done whatever they've been on this planet, maybe Orion to do. They're heading off back and I don't know, get attacked. Maybe somebody's nicked something. Maybe Beckett's nicked something she shouldn't have nicked. But definitely swashbuckling Orion, swinging in on ropes and carrying cutlasses. Can't get much more pirate than that.
Yeah.
Then we see Tendi wearing a breather mask that looks like the Star Wars ones from Empire Strikes Back. And spinning a couple of scanners like guns. We see the Voyager macrovirus attacking mainly Brad, but Beckett's also there. I'm thinking this is one of the reasons why I'm thinking we might get a Doctor cameo in the Voyager episode.
He's pretty central to the original Macrocosm episode from Voyager. I'm definitely agree that I think the Doctor, for a bunch of reasons, is the most likely Voyager cameo for this episode.
Yeah, and Bob Picardo, he's such an entertaining guy.
Yeah, and he's a huge fan favorite as well. I think it'll be a real crowd pleaser if they do have him on board for this.
Do you know he was in the 80s cult horror movie The Howling?
I did not know that, no.
He was the first werewolf that the reporter encountered.
These places where Star Trek is everywhere, Stu. These people pop up everywhere.
It really is. And of course the what was it called? The movie with the shrinking. Oh
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
no, no, but of that kind of nature. Very, very 1980s. He played the cowboy in it.
Okay.
Oh, our viewers will know and will put in the comments no doubt. I can't remember seeing the movie at the pictures, but yeah. Anyway, the last new scene from the trailer that I was able to identify is the Ferengi, I'm assuming Loeb's Lodge one, where we see Ferengi party poppers going off. We see Tendi and Samantha, and looks like checking in or something. But they're all friendly and happy and dancing and not steepling their fingers in, yeah, human. So yeah, I think it's the new Ferengis we're seeing. Mm.
It would be great to finally get a glimpse at how that society has progressed under Rom's leadership.
Yes, definitely, definitely. But I mean, it's stressed a lot in beta canon, but there's not been anything in alpha canon. So yeah, it would be good to see. Is there anything else you picked up from it?
I think that is it pretty much covered. I did really like the bridge crew got name checked alongside the four main characters. I
Yes.
thought that's not something that's necessarily given on lower decks because our heroes are, the show is called Lower Decks, and our four heroes are not are not the glamorous bridge crew that we're used to being the central figures of a show. But I thought it was an interesting sign that the the team creating Lower Decks obviously feel very comfortable emphasizing those characters alongside the main ones now, and yeah, just significant that they're getting those name checks in the trailer, and probably a sign that we can expect more of the kind of ongoing side plots that we get that push those characters forward as well, which have been not only some great humor out of it in past seasons, but have been really interesting. So yeah, great to see those name checks, and hopefully a good sign that not just the four main characters will have some interesting adventures this season.
Absolutely, could not agree more. Well, there we go. It drops. This is Lower Decks season 4 drops this Thursday, Thursday the 7th. So only matter of days and hours to go. I can't wait. I'm so excited. So yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we'll be giving our hot takes on what's good, bad, and batshit crazy about that first episode very shortly after it drops. So make sure you're around for that. In the meantime, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
Take care for now. Bye.